Don't you hate when you make tea and then you put it down to cool off and then you forget you have the tea in the first place and then it's too cold for you to drink it? I'm gonna drink it anyway. Hey guys! Today I thought I'd try something a little bit different, more of a conversation between friends, because I do view you guys as my friends, even though I don't really know everyone out there. In my mind, you guys are my friends. And when you have a friendship, I almost forgot the word friends, but when you have a friendship, you want the best for your friends. People have been reaching out to me asking me what are some tips and strategies that I use to create my own ebook, and I thought that I would share some of those tips with you guys. So, let's go. And please excuse my voice if it's a little nasally. I just found out I have allergies, which is so strange to me because I've never had allergies my entire life, and then today I go to the doctor, she's like, yeah, you have allergies. So just bear with me. First things first, people always ask me why did I decide to self-publish instead of finding a publisher. And I could have chosen to go, I guess, this traditional route, but it's becoming less and less traditional. A lot of people are self-publishing these days. I didn't want to feel like I needed a publisher to validate me or to tell me that I was a great writer, because I already thought that I'm dope and I don't need a publisher to tell me that I'm a skilled writer and that people would want to read what I have. So that's really why I decided to just publish it on my own, build my own audience for my blog, and then just publish the book on my own site. A lot of people, once I published, did ask me if I had any hardcover copies, which I didn't. It was just strictly online, a PDF that people can download from my site. I could have chose to use CreateSpace, and with CreateSpace you could put your file on their site, and then they will actually handle the shipping process and the printing process for you. So maybe next time I can always use CreateSpace. Of course there is a fee involved, but I'm sure it's worth the fee every time somebody purchases, because you don't have to worry about the printing and the shipping out of the books. I know sometimes people before, when they do have publishers and they go and they print out a whole bunch of books, sometimes those books are just sitting there collecting dust and you have to wait for people to buy them. And sometimes it's like you're wasting money because you paid for all these books and now you have to go out and find the customer to actually make a profit back on your book. And then you have to pay. The next thing I had to do was to figure out if there was a need for what I was actually writing, because if you're charging people for a book or a service, you want to make sure that people are actually going to pay for it. So that was the first thing that I had to do. Let me look at my notes here. Oh, excuse me. So how do you find or figure out your topic or your title that you're going to talk about in your book? Actually, not even a title. How do you figure out the topic that you're going to write about? Usually they tell you that your audience is going to tell you the problems that they're having or give you the topic that you should talk about. In my case, once I wrote a post called "If You Aren't Investing, You're Losing," a lot of people started sending me messages asking me more information about investing. So I decided that I was just going to create a basics of investing ebook so I don't have to keep responding to everyone individually, because obviously I felt like it was a need and people wanted to know. People wanted to know the information. So number two, people asked me, so I figured out more information. Let me look at my, sorry guys, I'm just like reviewing my notes here. So yes, you have to figure out a problem, and then you have to think about what solution that you're going to come up and solve for your audience. Now you might be thinking, okay, I'm not an expert exactly, so will people even trust me and want to buy my book? And that was something I kind of struggled with in the beginning. I'm like, I'm not an expert. I don't know everything about investing. There's tons of people that know a lot more information than I know, but there's also people that don't know anything at all. So I felt like I could help people with the very basics in the beginning, entry level, because there's people that don't even know how to do that. And I know someone in the beginning, they did ask me, I remember I had wrote a post on Facebook, and then somebody was like, oh, you're a financial advisor. I see you coming out with this investing book. When did you get your license or your certificate? And I'm like, I don't have my license. So I kind of used me not being a financial advisor to my advantage, because sometimes when you do have all these licenses and certificates, you're like, people look at you on a like a higher level sometimes, but I wanted to prove that I'm just like everybody else. Like, I'm just like you. And so that's kind of what I use, me not being a financial advisor, to my advantage. All right, perfect. So now that you know what you're going to write about, you have your topic down. Now it's time that you create an outline. And in this outline, you want to create each chapter that you're going to write about. So you should already know the chapters that you're going to write about in your outline, and then at least jot down like a few key points from each chapter that you want to cover. And I found that to be very helpful. After you have your outline, I'd say to choose a date when you're going to launch and release your product. Now, I say that you want to let your audience know about this ebook in advance. You don't want to just drop a bomb off on the audience. Like, hey guys, I just wrote this ebook. It took me 3 months or whatever. Here, clears it. Here's the book. Press the buy. Buy it today. Buy it right now. And because it's going to come as like a shock to your audience, you kind of want to build up that anticipation and tell your audience in advance, because most times people are not going to buy something the first time that they hear about it. So you want to give them time to prepare and build that anticipation for your audience. So great, we got our topic, we have our guide created, we even have our date that we're going to launch our book. So we're feeling pretty good, except we don't even have the book written. So now it's time to just sit down and write. And I know it's easy for you to say that. Well, I mean, it's easy for me to say that, but sometimes the hardest part is just sitting down and writing. I mean, I know that I'm trying to release my next book out in August, and I'm like, okay, Candace, one of these days you just need to sit down and start writing. But it's like I would sit down, and then suddenly I'm getting like, I'm on Instagram, now I'm checking the gram. Oh, somebody sent me a text message. Now I'm checking my Facebook status. Oh, look, my friend sent me a message and grouped me. Like, I get distracted so easily. So I just had to turn off my phone. I had to set like a timer. Like, okay, from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, I'm not going to do anything but just focus on this Word document. That's the only way that I was really able to focus. You know, as I'm doing this video, I'm like, my eyes are like wandering. I don't know which camera to look at. So it kind of looks like, I'm like, am I looking forward? Am I looking at this camera up here? I don't know, but whatever. So now that you've actually written the book, I found myself going back and like rereading the chapters. Like, okay, is this book going to be good enough? Are people actually going to buy this book? Do I have enough information? Are they going to pay for it? How much should I charge? Who's even my target audience? I mean, I wrote the book out for people that, me, I like to think of my target audience like I am my target audience, young yet wise. Clearly, there's more to writing a book than writing the book. After you've written your book, or even before you've written it, you need to start thinking about your launch plan strategy. Because like I said, you don't want to just drop a bomb off on your audience like, hey, here's my book, buy it today. You have to build that anticipation. So you have to think about your launch plan. Like, how are you going to get it out there on social media? What kind of things are you going to post on the social media? Once your book is written, you're also going to need to find an editor, somebody to edit your book. Then once the book is edited, you're gonna need to find a nice kind of design to lay it out. I know I use InDesign to lay out my book, and I also designed my own cover. Well, I'm a designer, so that was easy for me, but you might have to actually go out and hire somebody to design your cover. I know I used Fiverr to actually make it look like my book was actually a 3D book, so that's what I did use Fiverr for. But somebody else told me that you can use Microsoft Word to create PDFs. Somebody else told me there's a Canva, and there's also Apple Pages that you can use, and Canva and Apple Pages are free for you to use to lay out your ebook. So those are options for you if you don't have access to InDesign or a designer and you just want to do it yourself. Now I just want to talk a little bit about how much should you price your book for. This was something that I struggled with because, you know, I was talking to some of my friends. I'm like, how much do you usually pay for books? And they're like, I be on Amazon, I pay 99 cents for my book. And someone's like, I'm not paying more than 99 cents for a book. $20. Who's paying $20 for a book? Especially if it's an ebook, I ain't paying for all of that. And I know I heard a lot of mixed reviews. So I just want to read this quote that I found by Nathan Barry, because this is what helped me price my books. It says, how much is a book worth? The most common way to answer that question is by comparison. Print books often retail for $20, but Amazon will sell a copy discontinued discounted down to $14. Mine are just digital, so we should probably knock at least $6 or $7 off just because ebooks aren't worth much. So is your newly published ebook worth $7? Well, the ebooks at that price are by professional authors from major publishing houses. You're just a first-time author who hired your mom to proofread your book. My mom actually did read my book. Luckily, my mom is actually a professional proofreader, so your book should be priced at just $3 or $4. But remember, those stories of authors hitting it rich on Amazon by selling their books for 99 cents or $1.99, you want to sell tens of thousands of copies, so that is the right price. Stop. Seriously, stop thinking this way. Focus on value. And I love this quote because everything that he said in this quote is the things that I was struggling with. I'm like, okay, besides the editor, my mom did look at my book, but I did hire an editor to edit my book for me. There was probably still mistakes in there because after she edited it, I decided to add a few more chapters in there, which is probably, if you see copy editing mistakes, it's not from my editor, it's from me. Sorry about that. My next book, I'll be better. But anyway, he touched on the topics that I was saying about how should you price the books for a cheap price because people aren't going to pay that much for it. I love how he said to focus on value, and that's what I decided to focus on. If people have a problem and they need it to be solved, they're going to pay. So you just have to offer it to them in a way that's offering the value, and you have to hit on those key points. That's how it's going to help them and how it's going to better their lives, and not so much focused on the price. You have your ebook written, you have your launch date, you've written your launch plan, you've had an editor, maybe you hired a designer or maybe a designer to lay out your book, or maybe even you've done it yourself with Apple Pages or Canva or InDesign. And now it's time to launch. And the day before I launched, I actually sent out an email to my subscribers letting them know tomorrow will be the day where they can purchase my book. I was already prepping on social media and letting people know when the exact date that it was coming. So what did I learn throughout this whole process? What worked, what didn't work? I felt like my launch process was too long. My launch process lasted like maybe a month, and that was just because I was making so many last minute tweaks on my book, last minute design changes. I changed my design last minute. I'm adding chapters last minute. So I think the next time my launch process is going to be a little bit shorter, maybe 2 weeks or a week, instead of a whole month where I'm like building that anticipation. Also, I should have built relationships with bloggers who had bigger audiences, because that is very important. The larger audience that you have, the more eyes you can get in front of, the better. So I should have been building those relationships along the way. I don't feel like I utilized bloggers that have larger audiences with more subscribers than me. Let me see anything else. I'm reading my notes. I should have stuck to my original price point. In the beginning, I priced my book at $15, and then later on I changed it to $25 because I didn't really feel like people would really pay $25, even though I do feel like my book was great and it was offering a lot of value. I kind of started to doubt myself. And oh yeah, I forgot to say what I even used to get people to buy my book. I used Gumroads to actually host the payment process and to actually send out my book to people that once they bought it. I love Gumroads. It was super easy. I just it was free. I created a free account. I uploaded my PDF for them. I put the buy now button on my site, and they created like a little pop-up. I had to put the code in there, but it creates just little pop-ups. When people press buy now, they just enter their credit card information and their email, and it'll send them the book. So you don't even have to handle that part. They do take a percentage, so it's not completely free. Every time you sell a book, they do take a percentage. I believe it's 2.9% that they take. But Gumroads was really helpful. Okay, that was a kind of a long video, but I hope it was helpful. Let me know what you guys think. Leave some comments. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your night. My tea is all the way cold now. So I should reheat it, but I'm probably not. I'm probably just going to get ready for bed. Thanks for watching. Bye.